years ago. Well, they discontinued that part of the paper. I guess the people that enjoy a little bit of uh, controversy just figured, well, we better just leave that one be, and people could think that it's all looking like a big disaster. Anyway, if you are interested in the ENSO thing, drop us an email or streaming, and maybe this week we can cover that. The reality of it is we are in ENSO neutral at the moment. Neutral. And what does neutral mean? That means average weather. So basically, if you're an old timer here in New Zealand, or if you're an old timer on the islands, and you ask him or her what the weather was like over the last 30 years, that is neutral ENSO. That's basically average weather, and that's what neutral means. There is a chance that it may go El Nino, but we looked at the models last night, and there's probably 10 different models that are predicting the ENSO cycle, and majority of them gave neutral about a 50% chance, and some gave obviously El Nino a 50% chance. So it's a coin toss at the moment. Okay, we'll talk about the upper levels, and they are moving very slowly now. And I'm referring to the actual waves themselves, not the wind that's within them. These winds are whipping along at 60 to 90 knots, following the curvature of the waves. So if you could picture that, that's what's happening. So our ridge at 500 millibars east of New Zealand, the trough is west of New Zealand, it's closed, and that's over the Tasman, and that's followed by the next ridge, which is over Queensland, and that's followed by the next trough in the Oz Bight. So as you can see, there's a whole sequence of ridge, trough, and that's obviously common, normal. Now, of interest perhaps to those of you that are looking at these upper levels, you'll note that there is an elongated ridge over the deep tropics. Picture a swashed oval. That's what it looks like. The equatorward side of it has winds that are blowing east to west, and that's at about 5 to 10 south, or even from the equator to about 10 south. And the polar side of that oval is blowing west to east, the exact opposite direction. And that is occurring at about 20 south. Now, this scenario is quite common in the tropics. So if you're up there and you can see high clouds, note the direction that they're moving. It's hard to do because very high clouds go, even if they're traveling at 40 or 50 knots or more, they don't look like they're moving at all. You really have to be reading your Kindle and every now and again look at the cloud and see where it went, because it wouldn't have moved very fast. But anyway, that'll give you an idea of the direction of the winds up there. Now, the only reason I talk about that is because when you have an El Nino develop, the winds are going to be stronger going from east to west, up between the equator and about 10 south. So it's always interesting to look at those winds, and I do every day. And most of the wind flow has been east to west, and that encourages either neutral or La Nina. The minute you start seeing it going the other way, west to east, then you can start worrying about the possibility of an El Nino. So that's one way you yourself, without looking at models, can sort of see what's going on in the tropics. So what does the surface look like today? Under the 500 ridge that's east of New Zealand is a high, and it is a strong high. It's running about 1038 millibar. And the chief here is talking about warmer temperatures, and well, we're on the west side of that high, so all of that wind that's coming down, we're getting northeast winds here. Those winds are pulling in moisture and temperature from the warmer waters that are to our north, and that's the reason we're getting the warm temperatures, is because of that big high. Now, it's ridging, by the way, north almost toward Niue. Now, under the 500 trough is our Tasman Depression, and it is a closed trough, meaning that the ISO heights are circular. Anyhow, it's throwing a number of troughs northward, And there is a secondary low, and right now it's pretty much over the Bay of Plenty in the Tauranga area, for those of you that aren't too familiar with New Zealand. And this one is sending a frontal band north, just like yesterday. We talked about that on Wednesday. But that band is now over Vanuatu and trying to leave Vanuatu. So that is where that weather came from. And at about 25 south and 175 east is our ex-tropical depression. Yesterday we talked about that depression forming southeast of the Loyalties, and it has done so, but it's also traveled, and now it's officially become subtropical, and it's going to develop a bit as it continues to head southeast. Now, a band, or a trough, if you will, moves along, it's moving eastward, and it will probably lie over Fiji tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, and on Tonga, at Tonga late on Friday. So that's the big picture for today. And we'll look a little bit at the deeper tropics and the islands. And looking at satellite imagery, we can see that our old New Cal trough is in fact over Vanuatu, passing Vanuatu. There's a secondary, though, that's lying over the Loyalties. You can see this on imagery. From Vanuatu, the trough continues onward to the Louisiades, and there is yet another trough that's lying over the Solomons. And then the trough that was over Rotuma, that's still there, and it continues to Tokelau, and then it goes on to the northern Cooks, the good old northern Cooks. Get it again. Okay, over to Tonga then, for those that can hear us. We see that primary trough, the one that's just leaving Vanuatu. It's kind of oriented northwest to southeast. It's just tickling Tonga Tapu at the moment, with scattered clouds over the rest of the group. So today, you could expect cloudy periods for Tonga, a few scattered showers here and there, and there'll be sun too. All the reporting stations are reporting cloudy conditions this morning, early, 6 a.m., with east to northeast winds about 8 to 15 knots. Vavau reported light showers with a barometer of 1016. The winds by lunch, I think northeast 15 to 20, and about the same thing tomorrow. So that's northeast 15 to 20. And a little more backing, I think, to the north-northeast by dinner time today. Now the trough will probably slide up to the group, like I said earlier, late Friday into early Saturday. And for those over in Niue, you should see that trough probably on Saturday. And you'll know it's coming because they are preceded typically by northeast winds. And then as it goes through, that will be followed by southeast winds. And on Sunday, those of you in Niue should see easterlies. And that's a very nice wind direction for those nice protected little mooring balls that are there on the west side of Niue. In fact, those easterlies will occur for Tonga and Fiji as well, although Fiji will start to see a little backing at that time on Sunday. And since we talked about Fiji, that's showing scattered cloud with the trough still not moving in. It's trying its best, but that edge is still just south of Hindavu. Winds today by lunch mostly northeast, so there you go. That's your hint that something's coming. In the 15 knot range, tending north-northeast a little bit later in the western areas. And on Friday, tomorrow looks like the day that the trough does come into affect the group. We should see wind convergence at that point. The eastern half of Fiji will be looking at north to northeast winds. Those will clash with north-northwest winds to northwest winds on the western areas. So that clashing is going to cause those clouds to build and drop some rain there. Okay, the main trough over Vanuatu is somewhat broken now on imagery. The worst of the rain is east of the lower chain. The banks area to Santo actually looks pretty good on imagery, but broken cloud over the rest of the group with a good chance of some scattered showers here and there. The winds by lunch, south-southeast, fairly light in the north and maybe 15 to 20 in the south. The evening temperatures are warmer now. Tanna had a low of 19°C. That's a real heat wave compared to last week. If you remember, we talked about 14°C for those evening temperatures down there in Tanna. So it's changed considerably. The trough had brought some winds when it was sitting there, so the seas in the open waters, I think, are still about 2 meters, probably coming down. And over to New Caledonia, the lagoon looks pretty nice on imagery. Not so for the loyalties, as I said, cloud and rain there. But for our area, though, expect sunny to partly cloudy conditions, probably southerlies, maybe 10 to 12 knots, tending south-southwest a little bit later. And about the same thing tomorrow. The winds will probably back to south and then southeast, but quite light. And on Saturday, wow, that looks very good. Light air, sunny, so good times for the lagoon on Saturday. At least that's what I think. And that's all I think. So I'm done. Any questions, comments?
Did you cover the
Cover what?
Tonga to Fiji?
Well, Tonga to Fiji, well, that depends. Those folks there, I don't think they're ever going to leave. And going from New Caledonia to Fiji, we're going to be looking at some headwinds later in the week for that yacht that's doing that. So here's the chief. Any questions? Come now.
Oh, no, the boat that's in Tonga wanting to go to Fiji at the top, not going to move.
Oh, no, I didn't cover that.
No, here you go.
And the chief tells me, no, I should be talking about the boat wanting to go from Tonga to Fiji. Sabu Sabu, in fact. Well, you heard what I just said about the trough coming in, so it's up to you, the conditions that you want to have. I would say that tomorrow, if you do that, you're going to have anywhere from northeast to north-northwest winds. And that's halfway between Tonga and Fiji. And Fiji itself is going to be enjoying the trough. And again, you're still going to have troughing conditions through midnight if you do that. And the main body of the trough will be early Saturday over Tonga. So you'll be sailing right through that trough. Behind it, you'll have southeast winds. So if you like a damp boat and the winds possibly squally at times, make the trip. Otherwise, you may want to wait until the trough goes through. And here's the chief.
Yep, sounds like an early the following week, depending on the speed of that trough. Okay, is there anybody with any question that we didn't cover? And the outlook tomorrow will be, of course, more extensive, given that it's a Friday. I don't know where this week has gone, but David will be giving a more extensive look tomorrow to carry you through the weekend. Is there any questions? Excel, good morning to you, Felicity and Mike, and how's things in Niue, and carry on. Oh, okay, you're listening there. So yes, I understood all that this morning. So you'll be enjoying Niue. Actually, when we were there, it was, I can remember it was their annual celebrations, and we had a really good time. Okay, anybody else for Gulf Harbour? Surani, good morning to you, and I see you guys are on the go this morning, Alison. Pretty decent. I just let people know what it was like down there in Kuto, 5 to 10, and you're leaving for Tanna today. Looks pretty reasonable. Over. Yeah, can you just say again, your signal's not very strong with me. Just give me a short version of any question. Oh God, what did you?
I have no idea.
No, I can't work it out. Can I get a relay from someone? they're leaving Tanner. Yeah, hi Adam. Actually, I was wanting to ask you what you're doing at the end of the season too. You're quite light, so conditions are interesting today. Go ahead, over.
Yeah, so Ronnie was asking the weather for their passage on
Okay, yes, he must have worked that one out because he's got some detail up here. So we're going to look at the passage from Kuto to Tanner. Here he goes.
Going from Yildipan to Tanna.
Today.
Okay. I think that's probably going to be doable. You're right behind that trough, so that's all right, as long as you stay behind it, and you probably will. It looks like the winds are going to be out of the southeast, and tomorrow, as an example, by lunchtime, if you're, say, halfway there, southeast light, I'm thinking maybe the 10 to 15 mark. And closer to Tanna, it's a little bit windier. It's about 15 to 20, but you certainly wouldn't be there tomorrow. And let's see what it looks like on Saturday for that trip, and we'll look at Saturday at lunchtime. And, well, I don't know. It looks like there's a possibility that the trough may reestablish itself. That was that secondary, because I'm seeing winds in the Tanna and west of Tanna looking at east northeast. That would be right on the nose. And halfway between the loyalties and Tanna, there's hardly any wind, sort of in the middle of this system. So it does look like troughing conditions. So not much wind to sail. So you would probably be motoring. So the beginning starts off okay, and then you run into what looks like a secondary trough with wind all over the place. And let's see what it looks like for Sunday. And on Sunday, it's virtually the same thing. We've got Tanna itself with east to northeast winds, and between Tanna and the loyalties, either northerly winds or southeasterly winds or westerly winds. So in other words, that's typical trough conditions where the wind could be virtually from anywhere. So not a lot of wind to sail, and visibility might be down because of the cloud. We'll see if that happens, but that's what it looks like. So I don't know. You may want to wait and see, but if you go, my guess is you'll run into that, and you'll probably be doing a bit of motoring. Over.
Okay, all copied. So, yep, sounds like all those folk leaving will have or are having a reasonable time of it. So that's about it from here, unless there's anybody else. Those that are following Blowing Bubbles too, Carl and Shelley are making progress through the Torres Strait at the moment. They've certainly got more wind than you've got up there at the moment. They've got 20 plus knots and have had it all night in those fairly shallow waters there. Okay, is there any relays for anybody that I haven't been able to hear? Oh, good morning, Ron. Sounds like you guys are really enjoying up there at Ramby. Go ahead. Oh, goodness gracious me. Well, good morning to you, folk. And I'll it was funny that I was just looking at your report. And yes, it is a fairly scary running at night time in that area because there's quite a bit of traffic and not an awful lot of water underneath you or around you. And they've done quite well. They've got almost 700 miles to Tual in Indonesia. So good morning to you both, but I don't think I will hear you. But your report has come in, so everybody knows where you are. Blowing Bubbles, if you have anything further, go ahead.
relay. All is well, and just want to say good morning.
Oh, thanks, Ron. Yeah, you're coming in pretty well. And got that Carl or whoever it was on board, probably Shelley. But at least we know that, boy, it must be the middle of the night still up there. It'd be dark. So somebody's awake on passage, which is good. Boy, we hear some, talking about people on passage, we hear some scary reports that people are down below with earplugs in, watching movies and things. Boy, that is scary. You don't hear what's going on. You don't hear anything on the VHF, and you certainly don't know what the boat might be doing if you're concentrating on a movie. So certainly not on the good ship Chameleon. There was never any movies watched by the person on watch. They're certainly not expected to watch a screen. Okay, with all that rave, I will leave you in peace, and we will be back again tomorrow. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. Clearing the frequency, it's all yours. Thanks for the relays, folks.